The Galactic Academy's training grounds hummed with the usual cacophony of 100 different species preparing for combat certification. Melissa Torres stood at the edge of the sparring arena, her human frame looking deceptively fragile among the towering Krindax warriors and armored Thulian sentinels. She adjusted her training gloves, ignoring the whispers that followed her everywhere. "Another human," someone muttered in universal standard.
"Why did they even bother sending them here?"
Kevin Park, the only other human in their cohort, caught her eye from across the arena and gave her an encouraging nod. They'd arrived on the station together 6 months ago, 2 of only 47 humans scattered across the entire Galactic Defense Initiative. Earth was still considered a probationary member of the galactic community, and their species was universally regarded as soft, weak, and laughably unsuited for combat roles. Melissa had stopped trying to prove otherwise through words. "Let them think what they wanted. Attention!" Commander Vexoth's voice boomed across the arena. The insectoid officer's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Today's exercise will test your close-quarters combat capabilities. You will be paired randomly. Lethal force is prohibited, but significant injury is expected and accepted." A holographic display flickered to life, showing the pairings. Melissa's stomach tightened when she saw her name next to Cragthor, a Vraxian enforcer who stood nearly 9 feet tall. His species had conquered 12 systems before joining the GDI, and they were infamous for their brutality. Cragthor himself had made it his personal mission to humiliate every human he encountered. The Vraxian's laugh rumbled like an avalanche when he saw the pairing. His hide, thick as armor plating, rippled as he lumbered toward the center ring. "The little pink thing," he announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. "This will be entertaining." Melissa walked to the ring with measured steps. Around her, the other cadets stopped their own preparations to watch. Even Commander Vexoth seemed more attentive than usual. Kevin pushed through the crowd. "Melissa, you don't have to do this. We can request a medical exemption." "No," she said quietly. "I'm tired of running." Cragthor cracked his massive knuckles, each one the size of Melissa's fist. His species could withstand impacts that would pulverize most other beings. They were natural predators who'd evolved on a high-gravity death world, where everything wanted to kill everything else. "Human," Cragthor sneered, showing rows of serrated teeth. "Your species amuses us. So soft, so fragile. You break like the insects you resemble." He slammed his fists together. "I will try not to kill you, try." The crowd laughed. Even some of the instructors seemed entertained by the mismatch. Melissa rolled her shoulders and settled into a stance that would have seemed strange to most of the observers, low, balanced with her weight on the balls of her feet. It was a stance refined through millions of years of human evolution. Designed by a species that had hunted megafauna across continents, that had survived ice ages and plagues, that had turned persistence hunting into an art form. "Begin," Vexoth commanded. Cragthor didn't bother with strategy. He simply charged, confident that his mass and armor would overwhelm the small human. It was the same tactic that had worked for him hundreds of times before. Melissa didn't retreat. She stepped forward and to the side, her movement so precise it looked choreographed. As Cragthor's massive arm swung toward her, she ducked under it, her hand snapping out to strike his exposed elbow joint with surgical precision. The Vraxian barely noticed. He pivoted faster than something his size should have been able to move, backhanding toward where Melissa had been. But she was already gone, having rolled beneath his guard. Her knuckles cracked against the back of his knee. Another joint strike, harder this time. Cragthor stumbled slightly, more surprised than hurt. "Clever insect," he growled. "But your weak strikes are nothing." I barely felt that. He was right in a way. Melissa's strikes, powerful as they were for a human, couldn't match the raw force of a Vraxian. She couldn't overpower him, couldn't hurt him through his armored hide with simple punches, but she didn't need to. "Hit me then," Cragthor roared, spreading his arms wide in mocking invitation. "Come, strike me with your full strength. Let us see what the soft humans can do." The crowd erupted in jeering laughter. Even Kevin looked worried, though he'd seen Melissa fight before and knew better than to underestimate her. Melissa's expression remained calm. She'd been waiting for this, for Cragthor's arrogance to override his caution. She took 3 quick steps forward, building momentum, and Cragthor laughed even harder, convinced she was foolish enough to attack him head-on. What happened next took less than 2 seconds. Melissa leaped, not at Cragthor's torso where his armor was thickest, but upward and to the side. Her left hand caught his extended arm for leverage, and she used his own mass as an anchor point. Her body twisted in midair with the grace of a human Olympic gymnast, and her right leg came around in a devastating arc. The heel of her boot struck Cragthor precisely where the base of his skull met his spine. Humans called it the brainstem. Every species in the galaxy had some equivalent, a neural junction where the brain's commands traveled to the body. It was the biological Achilles heel that evolution couldn't entirely protect, especially in species that relied on armored hides rather than speed and agility. Melissa had spent 6 months studying xenobiology. She knew exactly where to strike. The impact wasn't about raw force, it was about precision, timing, and leverage. Melissa's entire body weight, accelerated by momentum and focused through the dense combat boot, delivered kinetic energy directly to the most vulnerable point of Cragthor's nervous system. The effect was instantaneous. Cragthor's eyes rolled back. His legs gave out beneath him like someone had cut the power to a massive machine. All 9 feet and 600 pounds of Raxian warrior collapsed onto the arena floor with a thunderous crash that shook the deck plating. The training ground fell, absolutely silent. Melissa landed lightly on her feet, stumbling only slightly as she caught her balance. She looked down at the unconscious Vraxian, then back at Commander Vexoth. Is he going to be okay? The commander's mandibles hung open in shock. After a moment, he remembered to close them. Medical team, now. He turned to Melissa, his multiple eyes examining her with new interest. Cadet Torres, report to my office after medical clearance. Kevin pushed through the stunned crowd and grabbed Melissa's shoulder. That was insane, he whispered. Brilliant, but insane. Melissa watched as the medical team arrived with anti-grav stretchers, carefully loading the still unconscious Cragthor. Someone needed to remind them, she said quietly, that humans didn't get to the top of Earth's food chain by being the biggest or the strongest. How did we do it then? Asked a Thulian cadet who'd overheard, genuine curiosity replacing the mockery that had been in his voice earlier. Melissa turned to face the assembled crowd, her expression serious. We learned where to strike. We learned patience. We learned that every predator has a weakness, and we became very, very good at finding it. She paused, letting her words sink in. You all evolved armor, claws, venom, size. We evolved something better. We evolved the ability to study, to adapt, and to turn your strengths into your weaknesses. She walked toward the exit, Kevin falling into step beside her. Behind them, the whispers had changed. No longer mocking, but wary, respectful. Cragthor woke up 3 hours later in the medical bay with the worst headache of his life, and a new understanding of why Earth's probationary status was rapidly being reconsidered. The humans weren't weak. They were just playing a completely different game, and they were very, very good at it.